Turn that sound up, Game Devs. Tony Chan here, and welcome to episode 61 of Game Dev Loadout, where I chat with the best people in our industry. We will learn how they got started, the obstacles they face, and the tools they use for success. And now let's chat with today's featured guest, Michael Csurics. Michael, it's a game time. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Yes, he is the founder of a Bright Skull Entertainment Group, a for-hire production service company providing dialogue and audio solutions to video game developers. Some of his works include a BioShock 2 and The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. He also speaks at GDC, a Game Audio Network Guild, and a Game Voice Actor Coalition. So go ahead, Michael, give us a bit about your personal life and how you got started in the game industry.
Sure. Well, I mean, my personal life, I'm from New York originally. I live in Los Angeles now. When I'm not doing video games, I'm a magician. I enjoy cooking and eating food, like at a professional level, almost, maybe someday. And I restore and ride classic motorcycles.
Oh, cool! And how did you get started in the game industry?
I got started in the game industry. I mean, I've been playing games my entire life, and it wasn't until a while ago, like a friend of mine from grade school, reconnected with me on Facebook and then sent me a message and was like, "Hey man, it's so cool you're in the game industry. I remember, you used to draw levels, like game levels on graph paper back when we were kids." And I was like, "Yeah, I totally forgot I used to do that." And so yeah, I've been wanting to do games my entire life. I'm a little older than than a lot of people in the industry right now, but I'm a little younger than some people too. So I'm right in that old middle. But I started out my first game console was an Atari 2600. Had a Commodore 64 and then a Nintendo, and it went on from there. And I got started making games because I was working at a record label in New York. I was producing stuff there, and I just wasn't really super happy. I was doing the hustle, so I had the day job, and then at night I had a post studio that I was working out of, doing like short films and TV work and stuff like that. And I hated it. I just absolutely hated it. Yeah. So I was just, it was just one of those moments where I'm like, oh my God, I'm sinking all of my time into these efforts that I'm not really enjoying or getting sort of satisfaction from. And then my wife actually got me a book that really just sort of shaped how I entered the industry, and also what my expectations were from it too. It was the Fat Man's Guide to Game Audio by George Sanger, and I read the book and was really intrigued. It talks a lot about sort of the culture of game audio, which was sort of amazing to me because the record business and the industry definitely lacks like a cohesive environment and community. So yeah, after I read the book, I learned a little bit about the Game Developers Conference, and I flew down to what used to be GDC Austin. Within like 3 hours, I met George. and a bunch of other people that I continue to be friends with today, on both people that have both mentored me and people that have also risen with me through our careers. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into game audio. I just came back from that conference and stopped taking any film and TV clients and just solely pursued games. And I've been exclusively doing video games since then.
Well, see, now that's awesome because I'm about to hit up the Austin Game Conference in GDC, so I'm hoping to be on a similar path as you, real time soon.
Yeah. GDC is for everyone that I talk to, especially people that are newer in the industry or that are just sort of like feeling it out. It's I feel it's a requirement in our industry to attend every year. I mean, you can go through your entire career without attending one, but you're going to have a much more difficult time in those, in those moments where you're either seeking advice or you're seeking networking opportunities. If you're seeking mentorship, it's an invaluable resource. Also, just the knowledge that you can gain through the people that are sharing their experiences on the panels there is second to none. for any conference in the world. So I highly encourage people to do that and make it a must do every year.
Ooh, yep, that's on my plan. I can't wait to go too. So let's go ahead. Let's break down like what is your main area of expertise?
My main area of expertise is by far and away voiceover. I've been crafting that side of my career since very early on. The first client I had was casting and directing voiceover for the N-Gage, if anybody remembers what that is. So since then, it was like I did that session and I knew that this is all I want to do, and I would be forever happy if I could just do this one thing. Since then, I've branched out a little bit. A few years ago, I got more opportunities to explore my writing more, and so I've been also developing that. But I'd say most people would definitely identify me as being an expert in the field of voiceover.
So in terms of voiceover, what is something we game devs probably don't know about in the area that we should?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. You need to have somebody that knows what they're doing in charge of your voiceover. There's a lot of people. Like I see a lot of companies where the voiceover direction usually falls to the writer or the creative director or a level designer or a sound designer. Like people who may be enthusiastic about voiceover or who may just be the last man on the totem pole, but yeah, I'd say a thing that most developers who have done it without pre-knowledge.
So hire someone basically more knowledgeable or experienced in that field.
Yes, and that's not to say that you can't gain experience, but it's one of those things where if you're going into it and you're putting so much effort into all other areas of your game, and then you're just not bringing on an expert to deal with your voiceover, the quality shows at the end of the product.
Ooh, what are other common mistakes, even at a pro level, that people make?
Absolutely, without a doubt, it's going to be not giving enough pre-production time before going into production, and that's a pretty universal answer across most disciplines. But specifically for voiceover, it's one of those things where the less time that you put in between the final version of your script and the recording of your script, the more chaos you're going to have in the sessions. And also, you're just not giving the actors time to prepare. Some actors, there's a lot of people who don't give the actors the scripts until, they show up for the session, and then they're expected to do their best possible job. So it's, I'd say pre-production and communication are absolutely some areas where I've definitely seen people that can improve on their methodologies.
So give actors more time. And I'm really curious, like games like Witcher 3, how do they have so much dialogue? It's like each dialogue is from a real person, or can it be like generated from a computer? It's like so many dialogue. I'm curious how they were able to create that many voices.
Well, so unpacking that question a little bit, talking about computer-generated voices versus real humans. Computer-generated voices, there's been some talks recently about being able to capture a voice print and create sort of a font, if you will, of a human voice, and then replicating that through an AI-based solution. Sort of procedurally generating the content. It's nowhere near where it needs to be in a production, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know if it'll ever get there, but the reason that I don't necessarily think that you can ever replicate, a human voice efficiently, you can program an AI to fake an emotion. Say like, hey, I want this line delivered really, like heartfelt and dramatic, or I want this line delivered, I want them to be sad here. And I think that in the future we'll see solutions where we can get something that's, close enough, reasonably passable. But the problem is that it really undermines the craft of acting as a whole, because what most people don't realize is that acting is not so much emoting the content that you're delivering. It's reacting to the people around you. So we do a lot of ensemble work in my studio. It's probably one of the areas that I'm most well known for pushing. a big reason that I do that is so that we can craft performances in their entirety and be able to sculpt the emotional cadences in real time by letting the actors do their job, which is 100% without a doubt reacting to the other people around them. So, and you'll never get those performances if you're doing a computer generated, or even the most common way of recording voiceover, especially in games, is to do single person in a room recording their own lines one at a time. So sorry, that's the long answer to a short question, which was, are the voices in video games predominantly all spoken by human actors? And yes, I mean, overwhelmingly. On rare occasions, you'll have like an AI that can be done with text to speech, and that's okay. But also, a lot of people who do that don't realize that you're supposed to pay a licensing fee for the text to speech voice.
Oh, now I know.
Surprise! And it ends up being more costly than if you had just hired an actor to do it in most cases. But yes, every game that has voice is predominantly done by actors.
I see what you mean too, because when all the actors are together, or like the one that have a scene together, when they can see each other act in front of each other, I think it's more authentic for them to perform what they need to perform.
Absolutely. I was gonna say we just shipped a game. I don't know if you're familiar with Tacoma, but we shipped that, and that was done entirely as an ensemble performance. And we were fortunate enough with the structure of it to be able to do it in linear. So performing the scenes, end to end in written sequence, as opposed to parceling them apart and making them do sections of scenes or doing scenes out of order to facilitate scheduling. But Tacoma we got to do as basically a play. And we did it with movement and choreography, and silent props. And the reason we did that, and the target we were trying to hit was this like mumblecore feel where everything was like super organic. And I was pleasantly pleased to see in all the reviews following it that people really picked up on that, and it really helped them gravitate towards the characters and build their curiosity for the characters as people, not just as game mechanic elements. So that was really cool to see the effectiveness of it resonate with the audience that way.
So the game is called Tacoma. Yes, I heard about it, but I haven't checked that out. And yes, I definitely will after this interview. Now,
yeah.
Overall, what are key principles for a better voiceover performance?
Collaboration. Collaboration is a key element in facilitating a better actor performance. So there's two very disparate ways that you can approach a voiceover session as a director. You can have voices in your head and have the actor perform until they get to a place that's echoing the voices in your head, or you can engage with them, create a safe experimental bubble around them, and allow them to craft the character themselves and to bring their life to that character. One is going to result in a very heavy-handed and all too many times non-homogeneous world where everybody sort of like has reactions and emotions that are very in the box. But if you allow an actor to come into the session and really bring themselves into the character, you're getting a much more homogeneous environment where the characters feel real and feel engaged with the story. So it's the difference between, again, using the characters in your game as narrative elements, or using the characters in your game to facilitate immersion and really building a world.
Oh, the way you say it just sounds so interesting.
Thanks.
I just never picture, an actor. I guess they have their own ways or certain ways of getting that performance out there like that. And I guess it's taking me for a while to learn, but I'm starting to understand how voiceover works now. So that's really interesting to learn. And now let's take this on a more personal level. Now that you've been doing, I would imagine finding the right voice and putting into the games can be difficult at times. So what was like the worst moment of your career? That one moment that's still vivid in your mind? Be very detailed and tell us that personal story.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you, there was a period in my career where we had just shipped a really great game. I was still at a major studio at that time, and we as a team really gelled. We felt very proud of ourselves. We came together and we made a really great product. We told a really great story. Everybody on that team felt very special for being a part of that team, and the studio culture was just awesome. And then we moved on to another project, and it just became very difficult. The management structure and culture shifted dramatically over the course of the next few years, and I was one of the last people from that original team to still be there and watch it all fall apart. And it was just really devastating to go through and feel powerless to do anything to prevent this world from caving in on both myself and my friends. So that was really tough. That was probably the toughest part of my career. I would say that in the end, we went from a culture where everybody felt empowered and was able to be the best person that they could be, to a culture where everybody felt like they were fighting over scraps and ended up being the worst versions of themselves. It was awful.
Damn, yeah, that sucks. And if you don't mind me asking, like, what triggered that culture change? Was the game just too big or something, or new management came in?
It was we got partnered with another development studio who were also really great people, and there was a new challenge in that, to work across time zones with multiple teams on a project that wasn't really ours, and we were just supposed to be doing sort of the polish work, and it just kept getting more and more complex all the time. We had shifts in creative direction. We had several creative directors just cycle through the project, all who dramatically impacted the game at a core level. Which resulted in a fallout of affecting every single facet of the game. So yeah, it was just a combination of many difficult and sometimes not always the best decisions across the board. So it was, yeah.
So, like, what do you want to make sure game devs take away from that experience? So, you have to be careful with working with another company, especially with different time zones, because I know that will make communication really, really difficult. But what do you want to make sure game devs take away from that experience?
Don't underestimate the value of pre-production. Don't underestimate the value of really, really good producers, experienced producers. Do protect rabidly your studio's culture, especially if it's one that is working and is inclusive and diverse. If you find a studio that shares your core values and that your team is also echoing, fight to protect that culture with your life. Because it is. You're not just gonna feel bad at work and then go home and be fine. That's not the kind of jobs that we have. That's not the kind of people that, for the most part, we are. This is when your culture flips like that, it has a deeper impact than just you as a person who goes to your job. You bring that home to you. You impact your families. You impact your loved ones. You impact your friends. It's awful. And then finally from that, if you find yourself in a position where you do feel like you're sort of under the boot, as it were, make sure that you are checking in with your mental health. Do therapy, like, a lot, at least once a week. And you know what the thing with therapy is, it's really good to start it when you're at the worst of it, but it's a lot better to start when you're feeling good. So that's something, especially in video game development, because overwhelmingly we're so passionate about our jobs, and we do have a very strong interest in work-life balance as a fallout from negatively impacting our psyche. I think it's ultra important in our industry to pursue a path of therapy with a therapist who gets you and gets what you're about and can help you.
I love that. So fight for a culture that you love. And, of course you want to keep the people around you that you love being around. If you're heading down that bad mental path, seek help, seek some support, do therapy. Even if it's good times, just go ahead and do that therapy to make sure, you're good to go and everything.
Yeah. You're not helping anybody if you're not helping yourself. That's that bottom line.
Exactly. What is the worst advice do you see or hear being told in your world?
Well, it's very topical right now. There's been a lot of research and conversation about the impact of crunch and how necessary it is for game development. And I think that's it's a toxic lifestyle, and it's also a very dangerous thing to put forward as something that we value as developers. We do not value crunch. Crunch is something that should not only be avoided, but should be absolutely you should be admonished for promoting it. There's definitely times where it's like, no, I really feel like sticking around for 20 hours and doing this thing. But again, you're hurting your own ability to perform to your best. There's a lot of cultures, especially outside of the States, where they have mandated vacations. They have mandated maximum hours worked, things like that, and it works. And I've seen a lot of great games come out of those countries, and I see a lot of development shifting to those countries while we're still, pedal to the metal all the time. So I think that the propagation of the idea that crunch is both necessary and something you should be happy about is the worst advice I've ever heard anybody give.
Yeah, I heard because it causes burnout and people overwork themselves. They lose their mental and physical health. So definitely, yeah, it's something that planning will help avoid that situation. Hopefully, good planning would do that.
Yep. Stick to the plan.
What have you changed your mind about in the last few years, and why?
I wouldn't say changed my mind so much as something that has changed in my personal preferences and tastes over the years. I mean, when I was growing up and playing games, as a kid, it was mostly platformers or top-down puzzle mechanic kind of games. You'd have very, very rudimentary tactical puzzles, but for the most part, it was all about engaging with a toy that was getting you to solve. And that's something I really enjoyed. And then as games matured, we entered into this era where the ultra violence and the sort of male fantasy driven stuff really took over and kind of squashed out a lot of really good games from the market as being non-viable ideas, because that was the stuff that was selling. So, and this is particularly true for sort of, early console era into even up through mid-console era. And it really wasn't until the mobile market took off, I think. I'm not an expert in this, but just through anecdotal and observational analysis, I feel it really wasn't until the mobile market took off and really took off that people started paying attention to puzzle mechanics again, and what became the casual market. People just dropping in and doing a match 3 game, and then Puzzle Quest came out and put some story and RPG mechanics into it. And I'm sure that I'm missing a bunch of stuff, but this is just my off the cuff reaction to that question. What I think is really cool and what's really changed in me is I still work on games that are very shooter focused, are very like big explosions and stuff like that. Like murder simulators. I still work on those. I still there's parts of it I still enjoy. Like I really still enjoy telling very intense stories that have that can exist inside of that world of combat, and I still really enjoy exploring characters as they're going through crises. And I don't think that part of me is ever going to go away. I don't enjoy games or any media that is just sort of violence for the sake of violence, sexual exploitation, like that kind of stuff just doesn't really gel with me. And something that has been happening in my studio a lot that I've been really excited about is we've been doing a lot more projects that are still very, very dramatic and high story games, but also either overtly or subversively have major themes of inclusion. And I knew that it mattered to me. Like I knew that it was important work for me to be doing, and I always felt drawn to it. It was always the elements of the story that grabbed me the most was dealing with struggle or dealing with dealing with bullying and things like that. But it wasn't until I did a game a couple years ago that was absolutely like one of my. It was a hallmark moment for me in my life. Even outside of my career, and I'm still proud to have been a part of this. And the game is called Masquerada: Songs and Shadows. It's an isometric RPG with a linear progression. Its story just really, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just there's a character arc in that game, and I've seen like fan mail and tweets and stuff like that about people talking about how that character's handling of his big dark secret and coming out with it, and then seeing the world around him react in a way that was plausible, but also not shaming. Like it made. I've seen a lot of people just react to that with like, "Hey, I saw this. It's something I struggled with, and now I feel okay." And that kind of stuff I wasn't seeing in games, So I think as far as things that have changed in me, I feel really compelled to push for and work on games that are going to help people be okay with being themselves.
That is so cool that games can have such an effect like that to make a person feel good, or to me, just games is just such a beautiful thing that players, it can really impact a person's life in a really positive way. It's just extremely a powerful form of medium. Now that you're more experienced and more better, what do you think was like the best investment you've made? And it can be investment of money, time, or energy. And how did you decide to make that investment?
Oh man, these are really good questions. I mean, like, I can geek out over audio equipment any day. I can tell you all about the mics and pre's we use and what helps to make it better. I think that the biggest investment that I've made, encompassing physical or intangible investments, reading. I read a lot, and I think that it stems from. I feel very strongly about the concept of that when you think you know everything about something is when you stop knowing anything about that thing. So I'd say that for me, just spending the time to read other people's ideas and methods. Specifically for me in my career, like reading Judith Weston's books really absolutely impacted me at a very deep level as a director. You know, listening to people's podcasts, talking to people, and then also returning the favor and then sharing that back with the community. Something I really love doing and have loved doing for a long time is speaking at development conferences and the occasional fan-facing conference. I think that what makes our industry so unique, especially since coming from, the music industry and film and TV and stuff, the thing that makes games extremely unique and I think better for it is the amount of data that we share and the amount of mentoring and, just hand holding that we do for each other. So I don't know. That's a really loose and and winding answer. I wish that I had a specific target that I could point to and say like that's the thing. But I think that I guess that could be globally encompassed neatly into the package of making room in your life for the bidirectional exchange of ideas and advice.
Trust me, I know exactly what you mean. Giving back to the community. It's when you give back to the community, I don't know if it's called good karma or not, but like it's just a good thing to do. It's a good feeling. You're helping the community to grow. You're also making yourself look better as well. But just giving back to the community is such a great feeling. Yeah, like you say, mentors, hand holding. It's a really good thing for the community for sure.
I think so.
Oh, yes.
I hope so. I don't know. Might be leading a lot of people down a really bad path, but I don't know, man.
Hey, you're helping us. You're giving us great stories right now, and you're telling us what not to do, what to do during voiceover. So as far as I see, you're helping us out. Now, what was like a great idea you had, like an aha moment?
I feel like everybody's work, especially in games, is an aha moment over and over and over again. If I'm not having an aha moment in a day, I feel like panicked. Because of the fact that our medium is based on a continuously emerging technology bed. Like we don't get to sit idle for a minute, lean back in our chairs and be like, yeah, I know how to do this. I've done this before. I've never, again, if the minute you think that you know how to do something, you have absolutely no idea how to do it. So I think that the aha moment for me is really the thing that I get the most enjoyment from on the non-performance, like artsy side of things is the constant puzzle solving. Making games is a persistent state of solving a jigsaw puzzle while it's being shuffled continuously with other jigsaw puzzles and trying to make something beautiful out of it. And I love that. I was up at a client's studio last week, and we were doing a VR demo, and I was like, oh hey, what's going on with the dialogue here? It sounds like it's at first it sounded echoic, and then I think that there's like a secondary emitter going on. And he was like, yeah, no, we were looking into that. And instead of just, just going out for beers, we ended up like pulling apart their audio engine for like an hour and then getting beers.
That's what I was talking about right there.
Yeah, I love that. I think that the aha moment for me is the realization that you're never going to have it figured out and enjoying the acceptance of that.
Yeah, you got to enjoy the process because it's a constant learning process and a new puzzle to solve each day, like you said. What are you most excited about today in the game industry?
I want to say VR because I feel like that's the answer that everybody wants to hear. But I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna say the thing that I'm most excited for in our industry is the diversity in our story craft and the type of stories that we're telling. I think that I've been waiting for this moment like my whole life, and I feel like I'm so excited about it. I feel like a kid again. It's like the world is new, and there's so many different stories that I can explore now. And I love that. I love that, and the day if that ever goes away, I will be the saddest. I'll be the saddest panda for sure.
Good thing that it doesn't sound like it's going away anytime soon. So now I'm curious, like, what's your favorite game and why?
I have a lot of favorite games, and I know that feels like a cop-out answer. I'd say like the most recent like AAA games that I played and just absolutely sunk my teeth into and put like hundreds of hours and platinumed, which I rarely do because I barely get the time to actually play games. Was Horizon Zero Dawn for sure. I loved the shit out of that game. But I mean, like, again, I'm a little older, so my library of games that I've played is vast. And the majority of the time that I got to spend playing games is tilted more towards when I was younger and didn't have, kids and responsibilities and stuff. So Maniac Mansion to me, I think, was one of the first games that I played and was just like, oh my God, this is so strange and so cool, and I love it. So that's still to me like my ringtone on my phone is Maniac Mansion. Like that's when you call me, that's what happens, and I kind of smile every time. And it's I don't know, man. Like overall games, it's a tough one.
Oh yeah, boy, there's so many great games out there. That's the thing. Yeah, so many. Yeah, that's cool. And what you say, Horizon? I just beat that game last week, and you're right. It's absolutely an amazing game. And the gameplay is so fun too. So, and the world is just so vast and beautiful. My gosh.
Well, and then I made the mistake of firing up Breath of the Wild as my next game, and immediately upon the first like couple minutes, I was like, oh fuck.
That game is huge. Breath of the Wild is freaking huge, man.
But on the same time too, like I play Guild Wars. I do. Mostly, I do a lot of tabletop. Like I have friends over, and we I've got a buddy of mine wrote a sci-fi adventure that's based on 5e right now. I just wrote and ran a Cthulhu campaign set inside the WWE universe, which was every bit as awesome as it sounds. I've been getting really into Mansions of Madness, which I dig a lot, and that's kind of cool too because it's kind of a hybrid game. Have you played Mansions of Madness?
No, but I think I heard about it before.
So it's basically it is a tabletop game, and you play human co-op versus tablet AI, who is kind of the stand-in for your dungeon master, game master, whatever vernacular you're in. And it's based in the Cthulhu world. I don't know how hardcore under the shell it dips into like Call of Cthulhu, but it's definitely like, so it's you guys playing against a tablet. And you import your roles, and it tells you where to place markers for clues and stuff like that. And I think that kind of stuff really excites me. Just the hybrid element of having people come together and playing a game collaborative against an AI component, like merging tabletop and video games. That's just super cool, man. I love that stuff.
I gotta check that out. That sounds really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. The show isn't over yet, Game Devs. You're not gonna like this, but we have reached a crunch time, Michael. It's basically a phase where I ask you a quick questions, and you be giving us a ton of valuable information in return. We're gonna crush it. So, are you ready to crush it and release the show?
All right. Here we go.
What was holding you back from joining the game industry?
Accessibility at the time. It was just back then there wasn't that much opportunity. There weren't. I was in New York. There weren't a lot of studios. So yeah, it was just I think the thing that was holding me back then was mostly I didn't have that light bulb moment of like, oh, hey, this could be a career path, because so few people were doing it.
Yeah, and now there's so many different avenues to get into the game industry. So yeah, there's definitely a way to get in. What's a personal habit that contributes to your success?
Napping. I nap every day around 3:00.
Ooh, why 3? If you don't mind me asking.
I mean, not when I'm directing, but
yeah, 3 sounds like a really specific time, I guess.
I'll put it to you this way: I have a very private space, and I get the most sun at 3.
Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
My friend Misty Lee, voice actress, was helping me when I was auditioning to become a member of the Academy of Magical Arts, and I was super nervous about my audition. You do a interview audition, and then you do a practical magic audition as well. And I was like really nervous, and I had more nervous than I had been for almost anything in my life. And she said to me that nerves are your body's way of letting you know that something is really important to you. And I think that was kind of some of the strongest advice I've ever received.
Say that again. So your nerves is when you know something's really important to you.
Yeah, your nerves are your body's way of letting you know that something is really important to you.
Whoa, okay, that's cool. How has a failure set you up for later success?
I'd say that that accepting your failures and then seeing them for the growth opportunities that they are, making any reparations that need to be made, and then continuing on because you only have the one path, and it's yours. Accepting that failures are both a mandatory part of life. You cannot take risks without having failures be a part of your life. So yeah, just the acceptance of failure, I think, is my favorite lesson of that's been a direct result of failure.
What resources should we game devs use? I guess in particular to voiceovers.
The people around you, and not like as an asset. Like looking at people as assets is very much the wrong way to use the people. It's more look at the people around you and know that this is your community, and then figuring out ways to help the people in your community that you feel the most strongly about, like helping to foster that. I think that the best thing that we can do as a development community is to help each other out. Yeah,
definitely got to help out the local community. Now, this next question is a bit of a doozy, so take your time if you need to. Imagine you woke up the next morning in a brand new world and you knew no one. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have today. Your food and shelter is taken care of and you have a laptop. What would you do step by step on the path to become a great game developer?
I'd find the people. I'd reach out and I'd find the people. There's always people. There's always people that are like-minded. There's always people that are going to help you build micro communities, and then from there you can expand and build macro communities. I'd find the people.
There you go, man. Yeah, it's networking is so important and building up that meaningful relationship. We have reached the end. Michael, go ahead and give us a parting piece of guidance in how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, sure. I'd say a parting piece of advice. A long time ago, a friend of mine and I developed this networking theory because we were very much being encouraged to just like meet everybody and give everybody your business card and make sure and do all these crazy things. And I learned something through that and through the failures of that, which was that it encourages people to not be themselves a lot, and to sort of morph themselves into whoever they think that person wants to be talking to in order to continue and extend their network. And my friend and I developed this thing, this way of thinking and networking that we called loosely magnetic networking. And the basic principle is this: always be the best version of yourself at all times. Always be true to yourself. Know yourself, spend the time to get to know yourself and what you're about. And then don't be aggressive. Don't throw it in people's faces, but do always stand up for what you believe in. And you're not going to make friends with everybody. And you're not going to get all the jobs, but it's impossible to get all the jobs, and it's impossible to be friends with everybody. So as long as you're true to yourself and are being yourself at all points during networking, you're only going to attract business and interest from people that will want to work with you, and likewise you will want to work with, and you will detract business from people that would be a pain in the ass for you to work with anyway, and then you would also be a pain in the ass to them. So you're avoiding situations where word gets around town, be like, oh, that guy, he's a a piece of work. And you're really only facilitating conversations where it's like, I really like that person, like they're really cool. She's awesome. Building that networking capsule, or that networking vehicle. It's a lot more fun of a drive. And then, how to get in touch with me. Best way for me is Twitter. I'm at M as in Michael. Csurics is my surname, so it's at M Csurics. M, C as in cat, S as in Sam, URI, C as in cat, S as in Sam.
Go check them out, Game Devs. Michael, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, and for that, we are truly grateful, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks a lot, Tony.
Thank you, Game Devs, for listening, and remember that knowledge is only potential power. Execution is the game. Go check out my website at GameDevLoadout.com for all the show notes. If you want to listen to more inspiring stories and help the show grow, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and share it. In the next episode, I interview Richard Rouse at Paranoid Production, and we talk about game design and the importance of starting off small. So until then, keep on making great games, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.